Hi. So we've been working on the saying from the classics. Its rooting is in the feet. It's released through the legs, directed by the waist, and takes shape in the hands. We worked exclusively on the feet on Tuesday, so now we're going to go to the other end of the equation. But first, I want to do an opening practice. And we're going to do the deer. So take a 70-30. We'll do it on each side, so doesn't matter which one you start in. And just as a review of how the deer works, you sit into your back leg and you gather as you shift and end up displaying your antlers like that. So it's got this motion that comes through the body, unfurls, plays out into the hands. So you can see how this is a great exercise for that phrase. Its rooting is in the feet, it's released through the legs, directed by the waist, takes shape in the hands. So now let's do this going from one foot to the other and just explore that feeling of the movement moving through your whole body, feeling the shape blossom from the rear foot through the torso and out into the hands. So the feeling is very much one of ending up with a line of energy that goes from the back foot all the way out to the fingers of the front hand. And you want to feel that kind of, not because you do it, but because you allow it to find expression through your body. So coming through the body, out to the hands. In the hands, it feels like you're releasing a helium balloon. Everything is light and free, and you can watch the energy keep going. And so notice how the rear foot is planted, the rear heel is connected, and the feeling goes all the way out through the body to the tips of your fingers. So there's a releasing through the legs, a turning of the waist, and the hands arrive at their expression. Notice what the waist does. You start turned toward your rear foot, and as the movement plays out through the body, the waist is turning the whole time, and you end up with the waist going past the leg of the front foot. So you've got this nice expression that runs through the whole body and takes shape out in the fingers. So let's do this a few more times. Feeling like you're unfurling something. Make sure you keep a connection through the feet. This is not something that travels. It's not first in the feet, then it goes out of the feet into the legs, and then it leaves the legs and goes into the waist, and then it leaves the waist and goes out into the hands. No, I mean, words come one after the other, but that doesn't mean that the feeling leaves one place when it comes to the next place. It's a continuum. So feel the whole expression from feet to hands and everything in between. It's easy to lose the rear heel when you get your hands in the final position. So make sure that the 70-30 really is 70 and 30. 30% of your awareness and connection goes through that back foot. That's what will help you feel this nice long line that runs through the whole body. We'll do one more round of this. Okay, great. So we want to look at the hands today. Why go from feet to hands when there's legs and waist in the middle of that phrase? Well, because if you're doing with the hands separate from the rest of the body, you're not going to be able to explore the feeling of release through the legs and directed by the waist. So you need to not do hands. So let's do the deer once and make it be in your hands so that you feel the difference. So gathering, and then put your hands somewhere. Do it on the other side. You start out in good Tai Chi, and then you make your hands go where you think they want to go. That disconnects your hands from everything else and disrupts this relational chain. So you want to find that your hands just arrive there. So do this one more time, and don't worry about where the hands are going. Just let them unfurl like a flower blooming, and it just arrives in a place. And if it's coming authentically through the whole body, it will arrive in a place that is appropriate. One of the problems we have with hands is going to one extreme and the other. I know I started out doing Tai Chi so afraid of making energy statements, making anything happen in the hands, being forceful in the hands, that my hands were really pretty dead, just kind of hanging there like this. And effectively, the energy kind of stops right about here when I do that. Ben Lowe would come and say, hand like a knife, not a noodle. So here's my noodle hands, so then I get knife hands. So now I'm busy making this really kind of tense and rigid, hard thing out of my hands. That's not what Ben wanted me to do. So I've spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to make sure that the energy comes through the hands without doing anything to the hands, or making the hands be void, where all the energy kind of stops here and the hands are just these limp, dead things at the ends of my arms. So that's what we want to look at now, is how to get that working. So let's see, I'm going to do this a couple different directions. We want to look at the subtle changes that occur when you're moving and the hands are just responding to what's going on, but not making things happen. So from ward off right, and then I'll do it in another direction too so that you can see in both shapes. You turn, the hands are changing. Sitting away from the front fingers, the hands are changing. When you end up in this final position here, the ring finger is right beside the inside of your elbow. But it started with the attention in, say, the middle finger, or even the index finger, the middle finger more than the index. Turning this way, now there's this relationship right here. When I sit back, the hand has to turn and change. And when I get into my back leg fully, I need to have the ring finger here by this knob of the inside of your elbow. So there's all this change going on. Let me do it this way. So you turn, now you got this relationship, and as you sit back, it becomes that relationship. So how does that happen? It doesn't happen because you make it happen. That's me manipulating my hand. Well, the hand changes, but not because I'm busy turning it, but because the entire movement takes you into that place. So there's these subtle changes that occur all the way through the movement. So let's do that a few times. And I guess I'll face the same direction as you this time. Begin. Turning to the right. The hands change just enough that the middle finger is pointing toward the inside of your wrist or just behind the wrist. Now, as you sit into your back leg, that left hand is changing the whole way. And when you arrive 100% in your back leg, your left ring finger arrives down by your right elbow. So just reset, and let's do that again. Turn, middle finger to just past the wrist, sitting into the back leg, ring finger arrives by your elbow. And again. See if you can make these changes happen without doing it just at your hand. And now this time, let's just make it happen in the hand so you feel the difference. Now you got to turn your hand over to make it arrive. So that's, can you feel how that's a different action and it's just happening in the arm? Do it again that way. You've gotten to the corner and now you know you need to turn your hand over, so as you sit onto your back leg, you turn your hand over. Now let's go back to watching it play out subtly. Yes, this is subtle. You have to pay a lot of attention in every moment. And notice how it just kind of miraculously arrives there through the whole body. So rest your legs. And let's look at it in another place. So from, say, white crane, the hand starts to drop. It's changing all the way through here. Just want to go to where the arm is about 45 degrees down. We're not doing the whole move. We're just watching the subtle changes that occur as you go through this change. So begin dropping that hand. Turn. Swings to 45 degrees. Let's look at what actually happens here. As the hand begins to drop, the pinky side, the blade side of your hand is dropping. As it comes to this place here, which will be the bottom of the arc, it's turned palm up now. And then as it keeps going, it's the thumb side that leads. So the arm is making all these changes. So come back and do this a few times and just observe how the arm moves through space and keeps changing without you doing the change, but rather allowing it to happen. I'm leaving this hand here so I don't get in the way of what's happening on the right hand. Let it drop. Pinky side. It's changing, 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 hits bottom, palm is out, swings up, thumb side. And once more. And now do it where you're trying to change what's happening in your hand. And notice how stilted that is. It doesn't make sense. But if you allow it to happen, it happens so naturally you don't even have to think about it. And now do the hands like a noodle. Just kind of forget about your hands altogether and just think about getting somewhere. The hand is dead. How does it move? When you let it just be a noodle, What's it doing? Kind of nothing. So come back to this Goldilocks place. It's not a knife and it's not a noodle, and you're not changing it. It's following the movements of the body. It's moving through air and changing all the way through. Rest your legs. It's like we talk about having a changing relationship to ground at your feet. You have a changing relationship to the air at your hands. But as soon as you grasp at it, it stops being that changing relationship. So you need to find a way that it's got this connection all the way through you so that it's going through the whole body and following a natural rotation and changing because of everything else that's going on. Let's do that again. And then we'll do a first third. So, relaxing, breathing. You don't have to think about it. Just be aware of the air and your hand moving through it. Let yourself feel the air first at the pinky side. That blade is dropping kind of aerodynamically. It turns, you hit bottom, it keeps going. Thumb side is leading. And once more. And starts to drop. The whole arm is involved. But it's playing out and taking its shape in the hand. So that's a good place to start. Let's do a first third and take a look at all the changes that happen during the form. So as you stand here, feel yourself relaxing. You're suspended from above, your feet are quiet on the ground and connected. You can feel through your whole body. The minute you start to shift the weight, it's reflected through the whole body all the way out to taking shape in the hands. Begin. Hands changing subtly all the way through the changes that are happening at your feet, legs, and waist. Moving through air, feeling the air. Changing gradually in response to the movements. Hands soft and alive, not empty noodles, and not rigid. And notice how the punch is delivered by the whole body. And standing here for a moment and just feeling the whole body open and spacious and connected through the feet, the legs, the torso, and all the way through the arms out to your fingers. And close. So I did that form kind of slowly so that if you made sudden adjustments to your hands, you might notice because you had to keep it moving in a connected and subtle way. That's the feeling that you want to be going for. That's how you'll be able to keep your hands with you and connected. So now I'm going to turn it over to Lee, and he's going to do some more work with this.
Great. We'll keep working on the taking shape in the hands. So the Xing, the word that is shape or appearance, image, manifestation, realization, the thing that's happening in the hands there. In order for it to have its rooting in the feet, it's issuing in the legs, it's governing and directing in the waist, and it's expressing in the hands. The hands have to actually be responsive to everything else that's happening. So what Beth was just doing of the little subtle changes that you make in the hands, we have to have. The hands need to be changing all the time through the form, or else they're not expressing anything. If the hands become static and don't have the changes, then they're not manifesting the rest of the motion, the rest of the energy. Equally, if you do it with your hands, if you actually, are someplace and then you just put your hands there and you just turn the hand when you come back, then that's not expressing or manifesting the entire motion and energy. That's you just doing it with your hands. So we wanted to look first at actually getting aware of those little changes that happen all the way through the form. And then we want to look at what else do you have to do in order to create the conditions where this can actually play out through the hands. So one of the things that happens is the doing in the hands. And we're concerned about how we're going to get everything right. And so you know you've got checkpoints, and you turn, and then you put your hand where it's supposed to be. You know you've got checkpoints, and you put your hand where it's supposed to be. You know you have checkpoints, and you put your hand where it's supposed to be. And so that's great as a beginner because you're actually learning the external checkpoints and where everything is, but you're not doing Tai Chi, you're just manipulating the body. So as we're doing this, a first progression is to really get the hands almost empty so that you take all of the will out of the hands. One of the things that happens when you have will in the hands get away from you. So, for example, if I'm doing, going into single whip, and I'm doing it with my hands can move and get away from me. I'm turning my waist, right? I'm not just here moving my hands. I'm turning my waist, but I'm real aware of the hands, and so I'm putting the hands someplace. And you can see if I get out of the posture, these hands are not connected to my waist anymore. So they've gotten away from me. So we want to do a little work where we're like a ratchet. We're moving bit by bit so that you know you have the hands with you all of the time. And we'll do it first in going from push in to single whip. And so what we're going to do is we're going to sit back and stop, and sit back and stop, and sit back and stop. And when you get all the way back, your hands should have gotten where you want. And if you start to go back and your hands are already down where they're going to end up, well, now the whole rest of it, nothing changes in the hands. So the idea of the ratchet is that you can see that you need to be making little changes with the hands as you go through this. So let's try this, going from push into single whip, and then we'll see what happens. So start out in push, and sit back a little bit. The hands should change a little bit. We're going to do this in 3 segments. So sit back a little bit more, the hands should change a little bit more. And now sit back the rest of the way, the hands should be all the way down. And just come back into push and do that again. Sit back a third of the way, the hands have moved part of the way. Sit back another third of the way, the hands have moved 2/3 of the way. Sit back all the way, the hands are down. Now turn a little bit. The hands should still be with you, shoulders over hips, nose over belly button. Turn some further. The hands are still with you, shoulders over hips, nose over belly button. Turn the rest of the way. Hands are still with you, shoulders over hips, nose over belly button. Shift and turn. As you turn, the left hand is dropping, the right hand is starting to draw the hook. Keep just doing it. Ratchet, 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 ratchet. At the end of that, you've got the hook. Take a break. We'll do this again. Let me do it and demonstrate it. So, I sit back part way. My hands have moved part way. I sit back 2/3 of the way. My hands have moved 2/3 of the way. I sit back all the way. My hands are down. I turn a third of the way. My hands are still with me. They haven't gotten away from me at all. I turn another third of the way. The hands are still with me. I turn the rest of the way. The hands are still with me. I shift. As I start to make the hook, there's a lot of motion that has to happen here. My left hand has to come down and get palm up by my hip. My right hand has to actually make the hook. So this should all happen too as I go through it. Same thing when I start to extend the hook. And when I come into single whip, I shift, I shift, I shift, I turn, I turn, I turn, I turn. So and when you're doing this, what you're likely to find is that either your hands finish first or you have to do something at the end. This is really obvious with making the hook. You grab the hook. Or, you could end up with the hook there already and then you're just carrying it. So when that's happening, the hands have gotten away from you. It's not driven by the whole rest of the motion anymore. It's something that's happening in the hand on its own. So let's do this again from push. And we'll do the sitting back and the turning in threes. I don't know if I can make the drawing of the hook in happen in threes, so you'll have to do your own ratchet there. So sit back 1/3 of the way. Sit back another 1/3 of the way. The hands should keep changing. They haven't arrived yet. Sit back all the way. Now the hands have arrived. Turn, turn, turn. Shift. Now this is the hard one. Turn part way. Turn some more. Keep doing it. Ratchet it. See when you finish if you've actually made the hook or not. Now extend the hook. Turn, turn, and turn. And step. I'm not going to make you ratchet the step. Shift 1/3 of the way. The left hand should be coming up. Shift 2/3 of the way. The left hand is higher. Shift all the way. The left hand is in place. And now turn and turn. So we're trying to get you aware of the places where the hands are either ahead, which means you've done something on their own, or they're behind, which will mean you have to do something at the end on its own in the hands, so that the hands have become disconnected. So doing this again, the ratchet. Sit back part way. Sit back some more. Sit back some more. Turn. Turn some more. Turn some more. Shift and start turning. Turn. 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 Extend by turning. Every time you turn the waist, the hands move. Step and shift, 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 and turn. Everything finishes. Again. Ratcheting, part way, more of the way, all the way. Turning, turning, turning. Shift and turn, and turn, and turn. Extend the hook. Turn, turn, and turn. Step. Ratchet part of the shift. More of the shift. The rest of the shift. And turn. So doing this lets you actually keep the hands with you. If they get away from you, if they get will in themselves, then you can't have it be a manifestation or an expression of the rest of what you're doing. So we need to have the hands without them having intent or will, but we also have to inhabit them fully enough that the motion does come all the way out through the hands. So let's do another first third, and I want you to pay attention to that stuff while we're doing it. The hands are always changing. The subtle changes in the hands that Beth talked about are always there, but it's not on their own. It's a part of the whole motion. So shift and feel your hands change immediately. And watch what happens to the hands as you change from right foot to left and turn back to the front. Keeping the hands with you. We're not ratcheting, but try to have that same feeling that as you turn, the hands are just part of that, and they finish the changes exactly when you finish shifting and turning. Watch the changes in the left hand. The hands finish just as you get back. They stay with you as you turn. You cause the hook to be formed. You extend it. Just as you finish turning, it's reached extension. The left hand changes all the way through here. Keeping the hands with you. Keeping the hands with you. Subtle changes in the hands all the way through here. They have to continue expressing the motion. And everything finishes together. And close. Great. So working on that, we've got two of the pieces now. We've helped you become aware of the fact that the hands are changing all the time there, that there's little changes that happen, even places that you don't think much about the change, like this sitting back from rollback, where it's easy to think about the hand turning up, but it's easy to miss the alignment first of the middle finger and then of the ring finger. And so that the hand has to change in order to actually enable that. And that's happening all through the form. All the moves, there's things happening in the hands. Obviously, because otherwise the hands wouldn't be expressing what's going on with the rest of the motion. And then you need to work with this, really keeping the hands with you so that you discover the intent or the will in the hands, and you can let that go and let the hands actually be available for expressing the rest of it. The ratcheting can lead to rigidity. You can end up sitting back and tightening your arms so that they don't go anywhere. Right? This is, let me hold you in my arms of steel. And so we don't want arms of steel there. So as you're doing this ratcheting work, you need to be really sure that they stay totally loose and soft as you're doing that, and that they're just riding along with the body rather than being welded to the body. And then, how do you get the motion to come through it? And this becomes a matter now of timing and of the interchange between an impulse that starts a move and the playing out of the move. So Professor Chung called this dung and dong, movement and swinging, or starting something and letting it play out. And so that happens all the way through the form. And this becomes a matter of timing. When we're doing this ratcheting work, the hands follow the body. So the hands are riding along with the body as you do that. And so do this another couple times with me, just because we can't do it too many times. So sit back, we're not going to ratchet, but get that feeling. So feel that the hands are just floating with you. And as you turn, feel that they're riding along. Now I want to just do that again. So back into push. Sit back. The hands are floating and riding along with you. And as you turn, they don't have to do anything. They're just carried with you. Once more. Push. Sit back. Turn. The hands are just carried with you. Everything is relaxed. Chest is relaxed. Shoulders are relaxed. So that's the hands following the body. But if the hands have motion, they keep moving. So there's a momentum in the hands, and after you've struck the drum and you're watching the drum beat play out, during that playing out time, you follow the hands. So it trades off. The hands follow the motion you make with your waist follows the motion you make with your hands. So we're going to do a couple minutes of our favorite little exercise, the damned arm swings. And the nice thing about that is that it gets you really using the hand. So this isn't a move or anything. I just want you to make this be easy. You're going to start and step back with a foot and make sure it's pointed towards your front corner. As you shift, let the hand on the same side as that foot drop and then let it swing up. And then let it fall and come back into the front foot. And shift. Hand falls, swings up, comes back into the front. Again, shift. Hand falls, swings, comes back into the front. Change to the other side. Step. As you shift, the hand swings. You follow it back into the front. Shift. The hand swings. You follow it back into the front. Let this be so easy. You kind of can't believe it. Change. So the arms are completely loose and they're just swinging and you're with them. They don't get away from you and they don't become held. I'm doing 3 to a side, so I'm going to switch now. I don't care how many you do. It's just nice to do both sides. Really letting the arms just swing. This is like rocking yourself to sleep. And we'll do it once more on each side. And then I'll talk about the details. And one last side. Okay, so the first thing in this is really letting the arms, the chest, the shoulders relax. So I'm not swinging a stiff arm that I'm doing. I'm letting this arm be as if it had no muscles at all. So I really just want it to swing. I shift, and right as I hit my weight in the back foot, the hand drops and is at the bottom of the curve. So it'll go palm up at the bottom of the curve, right when I hit my weight. So I don't get shifted and then the hand drops, and I don't have the hand hit the bottom of the curve and then shift. These happen together. And then, so this is the doing, here's the impetus, the hitting the drum beat, and then there's the playing out. I hit the drum beat and the arm swings up, and then it comes back. And so when it swings up here, you have to watch how the arm falls. This happens on its own. The arm just swings and starts to fall. When it falls back, I follow it back. So it doesn't fall back, and then I move my body. As it falls, I'm right with it. So this part I drive, and this part I follow. I drive, and I follow. Drive, plays out, comes back. And notice here at the back, it doesn't stop. This is like when we do the bear with you, and we have you turn and stop, and your arms should just fall. If you turn and the arms stay out there, that means you're holding them. So when I do this, and my arm swings up, it should come right back down. I talk about the game at the county fair where there's a sledgehammer and a disc, and I hit the sledgehammer and the disc goes up the pole and falls back down the pole. Of course, all the games at the county fair are rigged. So if it's not rigged, the disc is going to come up and fall back down. It doesn't come up and stop and then get put back down. So be an unrigged arm. If you hit the thing, the disc falls up and stops, then you're rigged. You've got tightness there. So do this a little bit more on both sides. Impetus, playing out all the way back into the front foot. Impetus, playing out all the way back into the front foot. Impetus, playing out back into the front foot. Change sides. Hit the drum beat. Watch the ripples play out. Hit the drum beat. Watch it play out. Get the timing. Bottom of the arc just as you hit your rear foot. Changing sides. Bottom of the arc just as you hit your rear foot. Here's the dung, the motion. This is all the dong, the swing. Motion and swing. Changing. Motion and swing. So you have to really follow your hand on the way back and change. And change. One more round each side. Impetus playing out, stay with it. Impetus playing out, stay with it. Impetus plays out, you follow it back. And take a break. So what we're working on today is this taking shape in the hands, expressed in the hands. And in order for that to happen, the hands actually need to be changing. Little bits of tension or little bits of unawareness can lead to either the noodle hand, where the energy doesn't get out, or can lead to the fingers of steel, where you're going to just do with the hands. Wolf has called the hands our attack dogs that we grab things with. I think about us manipulating the world with our manos, and we're trying to let that go. But that doesn't mean that you amputate your arms. You need to feel all the way out on the hands, and you need to let the changes actually manifest in the hands. So what we started with the subtle motions of the hands, they're changing all the time. They're basically never carried. So you have to become aware of them changing all the time. Then we want to become aware of the will that we have in our hands and the doing in the hands. And so the ratcheting is good because you have a chance of finding, did I carry my hands along with me, or did I do with the hands? So that they're not responding to the rest of it, so that they're not expressing the whole rest of the motion. Then you've got to realize these two phases, the dung and the dong, the impetus and the swing, and that's trading off in a, of course, yin-yang way all the way through the form, where you do something and then you stay with it as that happens and you go through it. And you need to watch right for the end so that you can go on to whatever's next, so that the disc at the county fair doesn't just sit up there while they take the money of the marks. So the disc goes up and comes back down. So that's happening all the way through the form. So we're going to do a form now. Now, it will keep going. This is not going to be a slow, agonizing form. This is going to be one where we set it in motion and we follow it all the way through. And I want you to pay attention to all three of those things. The constant changing of the hands, the expression, the manifestation in the hands is always happening, that you don't let the hands get away with you. You carry them with you, so you're always with them. And then this interplay between the impetus and the playing out. And that will determine your timing during the form, because you don't want to get stuck with the disc up the pole. When it finishes playing out, something new happens, and you need to be right there with it. Now, I'll probably say things a time or two during the form, but mostly I want you to be paying attention to these things as you practice it. It'll come, it'll go. Come back when you discover that you've gone. So, from the top. Feel your fingers. And go. An impetus. A new impetus. And stay with the hands. Subtle changes. Beth talked about the changing relationship with air. So feeling the air with your hands. Stay with the hands all the way through here. And follow the motion. Don't let anything get static. When the disc reaches the top of the pole, it falls back down. Staying with the hands. Impetus. Start them and follow them. diagonal. Hands are changing all the way through here. They're not at all static. And step this time. The hands drop. You follow them back to cross hands. They sink and you kick. Everything comes back in. They drop. You follow them to the cross hands. Hit the drum, let it play out. Hit the drum, let it play out. Impetus and playing out. Driving it and following the swing. And close. So we're working on this as a series. In the saying, it rooting lies in the feet, its issuing is through the legs, its governing and directing is in the waist, and it becomes manifest and realized in the hands. And we're going to be working on this for the next couple sessions. You're not going to get this after 1 hour. So 1 hour can make a difference in how you relate to your hands, or how you use your feet, or what you're doing with your legs, or bringing awareness to the waist. So an hour is really important, because an hour can open the door and let you see through to a new space. So don't downplay spending an hour actually focused on this, but you're not done after an hour. This isn't a bucket list. This isn't check, now I've seen wherever. Check, now I've turned my waist. This is something that you need to spend real time working on in your practice, and it's going to take time to sink in. So, we're doing these on Tuesdays and Thursdays, which gives you lots of other days in the week. And that rhythm doesn't necessarily match your practice rhythm. So if you're watching it with us on, practicing along on Tuesday evening and then again on Thursday morning, then you've got a whole nother week till next Tuesday. If you're not doing them in sync with us, but you're coming and looking at these, then you've got your own timing. Spend time on each of them. So if this is the first one you're looking at, and you didn't do our Tuesday evening rooting in the feet, do go back and practice with that. And then spend time. Spend time just working on one of them. You won't be able to do all of them together until you can do each of them better than you can do now by itself. So spend a bunch of time working on the rooting in the feet. We gave you a bunch of places to explore and drills to work on with that on Tuesday. Then spend a bunch of time on the hands thing. And we've just given you 3 things to pay attention to in the hands. One of them, that you really are aware of all of the little changes that happen in the hands all the way through the form. They're never static. They're always changing. So you need to actually find those little changes, which can be quite subtle. It can look like you're just carrying your hand with you. You're never just carrying your hand with you. It's always changing as you're doing that. So that's the first one, finding the changes. Then the second one is not letting the hands get away with you. So I just said you don't ever carry the hands with you. But work then some on carrying the hands with you. So you're not holding it and forcing it as it goes here, but you let it just carry with you. So that the hands stay with you rather than ever getting away with you. And then the third one, work on the dung and the dong. Work on the impetus and the swing. Work on hitting the drum beat and then letting it play out. And so you'll want to take that apart into little places, just like we were doing with the arm swings, and really get that feeling and then look for it in your form. And so that will start to let you find what it means to take shape in the hands. What does it mean for the hands to express the motion and the energy? And so you'll work on that. Then next week we'll spend some time on the legs and the waist, and the same thing with those. It's not, oh yeah, legs, check. It's, okay, I've got to actually work on what does it mean to fire the motion, to issue the motion out of my legs. And so you'll need to spend time on that. And then we'll start putting it all together. And if you put the effort into this, it'll change your form. Then we can always come back to gobs of technical details and holding postures and all that stuff, because we will come back to that. But this will give you a new inside-out approach to the form. It'll open the door into a new room for Tai Chi practice. And that's what it's really all about. So we'll stop here for now, and see you all next time.